Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here as always by the man who has just been traded for a second-round pick. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. I thought it'd be worth a first, but that's fine. Just another chip on my shoulder, so we're ready to roll.
Yes. If there were podcasting trades, what do you think that we could get?
Us?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple like conditional 7th-round picks.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like a 7th-round swap might be where we're at.
Yeah, it's okay. We have good reviews, positive reviews here.
Hey, we do our best here on the Sideline podcast. We have a lot to talk about here in this week. We have a Monday Night Football game to get to. We can touch on the trade deadline. A lot of good stuff. Kyle, how are things?
Things are good. Things are good week in the picks, and overall just been vibing pretty good. How are you doing?
Yes, doing good. I'm not doing as well as you are doing in the picks, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Yeah. I mean, you did pretty good, starting to chip away a little bit. So,
yeah, every week I feel like you're getting like 1 point closer here. Let's start off with the trade deadline madness. Kyle, we saw an actual trade deadline, an actual entertaining trade deadline for the first time really ever.
Yeah.
It's a new NFL.
The funny thing is I think I tweeted out the morning of like, here are some of the trades I want to see before the deadline. And I was like, I know the trade deadline's not a real thing in the NFL. Nobody really cares. And all of a sudden, all these trades start happening. It's like, oh, this is a real thing. This is really happening. That was exciting. That was exciting for football and a lot of interesting moves. And I'm curious what led to this, you think? Is it that there's so much parity right now in the league? Everyone feels like they have a chance at winning a title?
I have to think it's what we just saw with the Rams. It's a copycat league, right? I have to think that we just saw a direct team, and it wasn't just the Von Miller trade was part of it, but obviously they made a lot of trades. I have to assume that's getting teams more willing to take a risk.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be. It feels like it is a shift in the league now where teams are more willing to take these chances to try and win the title. And, I guess if we're starting with this, I feel like the biggest move was made by the Miami Dolphins this week. It seems like they're kind of ready to go all in and see what they can do.
Yeah, it's an interesting move with the Bradley Chubb thing. We're not going to go through every single trade, but just talk about the big ones. I love it from Denver's perspective. This feels like a huge win for Denver, right? You're getting rid of a player this is the last year he's under control. You have to pay him after this year or franchise tag him. So getting rid of a guy who you're basically, you lose a ton of value once the guy hits the market, and you're getting a first-round pick back. Miami's giving up a lot, but the bright side is you still get him for this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big risk for Miami, especially because they don't have the extension worked out. So how's that going to look in the offseason? Are they going to let him walk? Are they going to franchise tag him? I don't think it's going to be that necessarily easy to figure out. And then the other fact of it is, is this worth a first-round pick? They felt like it was. I think it makes a lot of sense in that regard. Pairing him with Jalen Phillips, it'll be interesting to see how those two, kind of work well together. But yeah, I mean, they went all in with this move, and I think it makes a lot of sense because, they acquired all of this capital basically from that trade with with the 49ers who drafted Trey Lance. And I kind of like the idea of, instead of using those draft picks and saying, let's get guys, let's see if we can find some starters. They went out and got stars with those picks. They went out and said, let's just find good players and acquire good players rather than hoping our draft picks work out.
Yeah, they did do it with Jalen Waddle, of course. They traded up and spent a draft pick on him, but then they also used one of those first rounders to help get Tyreek Hill, and now, getting Bradley Chubb. That one's an interesting one. I thought that to me, my favorite trade was it was by the Lions. My favorite trade involved the Lions, but it was by the Vikings getting TJ Hawkinson for less than a second-round pick. Like, it feels like a steal for a guy who's still under 2 years of control. Plus, we've seen the franchise tagging a tight end costs basically nothing. This feels like an easy win for a team that could really use a third option and now to have one.
Yeah, I think it's a good trade. I guess the question is how much do we actually value TJ Hawkinson? I think he's a pretty good player. Like, I guess the thing is like we've been waiting for him to hit that elite stage of tight ends, and I felt like that was what he was projected as. And I think my question is, was he not an elite tight end in Detroit because he was on Detroit, or is it going to be, is he going to hit that level? I think is the question. That being said, it costs virtually nothing. So yeah, I think you have to kind of go and do that.
Yeah, it fits a need as well. So it's also like kind of what they could use, especially with Irv Smith Jr. now being injured. It really helps them out with that. And I agree. He hasn't lived up to the eighth overall selection, and it's probably is this just a good reason for why you just shouldn't draft a tight end that high in the draft? Like we're kind of seeing it with Kyle Pitts a little bit, who has been good, but it's still like it just takes time to develop these young tight ends. A lot of times you end up just developing someone else's tight end.
Uh, I think there could be an argument for it. I mean, the tough thing is, A, it takes a while to develop, and then I also think it's a tough position to evaluate. I think we've
Hmm.
seen time and time again a lot of tight ends who we thought were going to be studs kind of just turn out to be okay. And okay is fine, but you don't draft them in the first, second round, you know? So it is an interesting conversation. That being said, like, yeah, this is going to be interesting, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hawkinson all of a sudden is awesome in Miami or Minnesota.
Right. I think last main thing I want to talk about is Packers doing nothing again is just kind of funny.
I mean, they had some pretty clear needs, right? It felt like that if one team
Mhm.
needed to make a trade, it was going to be them.
But
And
at the same time, it's like, are we really going to blame them for not giving up more than a second round pick to outbid the Chicago Bears to get Chase Claypool? Like, it feels like maybe there just wasn't the move this year. There might not have actually been the move available.
yeah, I mean, the interesting thing to me was one of the trades I had kind of like pitched was Elijah Moore because that situation seems to have gone south. I don't even know
Mhm.
what the Jets would have asked for him at that point, but like, could that have been something they gone after too? I don't know. I guess it really kind of depends on what the market was out there. There are some interesting wide receiver trades though, as you look at like Chase Claypool and also Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, if you're the Packers, why not get Calvin Ridley? I know it won't help you this year, but neither will a second round pick.
Yeah, I mean, the question for me on that one was, did people even know Calvin Ridley was on the market at this point? Like,
Right,
it
because
just seemed to come out of nowhere.
he was on the market before the suspension, right? And then I feel like kind of forgot that was a huge one for Jacksonville. I think.
Yeah, it felt like a steal, especially if they get him. Especially if he hits the ground running there. I feel like that's a very cheap wide receiver one all of a sudden.
Yeah. All right. We could probably spend forever on this. Do you have any other thoughts on the trade deadline?
Uh, no, I think Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn are interesting. I just don't know how impactful they'll be unless they get good
Hmm.
again or get really good again. But I think those could be, on better teams, those guys could see their production value jump a lot back to where they were at their best. So we'll see if that works out.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Monday night game. This was a surprise. This was a shocker. I think that we were all expecting a Bengals victory. The Browns are not dead yet here. They're 3-5. They got a tough next couple of weeks, but then Deshaun Watson gets back. If they can find a way to steal a win against the Dolphins and Bills, this is a team that absolutely has a chance to go on a run.
Yeah, that was kind of a masterclass from Jacoby Brissett of all people, wasn't it? Like he was
Right.
awesome in this game.
Hmm.
I mean, everything about the Browns. This is like what you want the Browns offense to look like every week, right? I mean, Brissett was awesome. The running game was awesome. I thought the offensive line had a masterclass of performance in this one. And then you look at the passing catch thing, and it's like, okay, Amari Cooper got his 5 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. But then you're looking at like Donovan Peoples-Jones got involved, David Bell got involved, Kareem Hunt got involved. This is like what you want this Browns team to look like if you're a Cleveland fan, because this is definitely the best version of this team without Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what I guess this is probably the perfect example of like why people still like Brissett, right? It's like he's just not consistent enough to be a starting quarterback. Like he can have these days.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And they torched this Bengals defense, which had been playing well the last few weeks. So this was a bit of a surprising one. Obviously, the thing was, you made the pick, I believe, before the Chase injury update.
Hmm.
So that made it a little tough. But that being said, the Bengals, I don't know, did it seem like they weren't prepared to play this game at a little bit to you? I didn't think they played that well.
No, they really didn't. I mean, is Jamar Chase just what again? Jamar Chase means a ton to this offense. Luckily, couple of easier weeks, Panthers and Steelers coming up, so you got that going for you. I mean, what kind of a team would lose to the Panthers and Steelers back to back? But things do get easier, but it does worry you a little bit that like, okay, we all know Jamar Chase is awesome. We all know he means a ton to this team, but like, I don't think we fully realize he means this much. But yeah, I mean, he's a huge impact player. It just felt like when now T. Higgins has to be the one, it's just harder on him. When Tyler Boyd has to be the two, it's just harder on him. There's things they can do. They can figure it out. But yeah, not the best week for them.
And I thought it was a bounce back performance from the Browns secondary, which I thought had also struggled the last few weeks. But that being
Hmm.
said, like at the same time, should we actually be surprised by this? Because I mean, how many times have we said that receivers are important in this league?
Right.
It's just it carries an immense value to have, true number one wide receivers, and we saw it now. We've seen it now with what this Bengals team looked like without Chase in this game. We've seen it with what Miami looks like with Tyreek Hill in the lineup. I just think time and time again we're reminded how important top tier wide receiver talent is, and maybe you shouldn't trade it if you're Green Bay. Maybe you shouldn't trade it if you're Tennessee.
Right.
Tennessee's still doing all right, but at the same time, I feel like that it's just notable when you have that number one guy out there and when you don't.
Yeah. Kansas City managed to survive, but they're a unicorn. Don't try to do what they're doing.
Well,
Yeah.
Kelsey's an elite pass catcher too.
True. And also, I mean, like Amari Cooper had over 130 yards in this game too. Like that's a perfect example of a guy who gets ran at. The Dallas Cowboys decided to get rid of him because they need to save cap space, and I think they would really like to have him right now and maybe get rid of someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation, but good win for the Browns. They're working their way back into this thing, and then all of a sudden, I think this AFC playoff race gets a little more confusing day by day.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does. We're learning new things every week. We will talk more about these teams as we pick every single game of Week 19. We have some fun games to talk about. As Kyle, you were only 4 points behind, so a good week here, and you could be taking the lead.
Uh, we'll see. We'll see if I can get it done. Feeling pretty good again. We'll see if we can make it happen.
Also, the great overlap 618 saying, "Oh yeah, happy Wednesday, boys. His hit a 4-team parlay last night, and I'm back in action. Let's fire away these locks." LFG, yes. Very happy for overlap 618. Happy that you're gambling. I know you're going through a hard time, so happy things are going well.
Things are back on the up and up. Let's get it done.
Yes. All right. Well, Kyle, why don't you give me a game?
Um, let's go. Raiders at Jaguars.
Yep, Raiders Jaguars also first on my list. The game we all want to talk about, Raiders Jaguars. It's a man. This is tough. These are two teams that are just, the Raiders we felt like they should be pretty good. Have not been able to be very good. The Jaguars at one point looked very good, but their offense has completely struggled. Somehow these are two quarterbacks that aren't playing very well. I mean, I guess I kind of can see it with Lawrence. Carr, I don't know what's going on with him. I think I'm going to trust the Raiders will have a bounce back day and will win this game. But I mean, it's a good pick because we haven't seen these teams be the same team week after week. We're trying to figure out who these teams are. We don't know who these teams are because they have been very fluky. I think I'll give the Raiders the victory, but I don't feel great about it.
I think I agree, but at the same time, so I think there's one thing that's true about the Raiders. This coverage stinks. I mean, it really is. It's the second worst in football behind Detroit, which is just historically bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you can put them in the same breath as that, it's a problem. So I think Casey Hayward was way too important for this defense, and now that he's not there, we're seeing this coverage get picked apart time and time again. I mean, Andy Dalton's all right. He picked this team apart, it felt like last week, and their offense couldn't do anything too. So,
well, it helped when every drive was starting in the red zone.
that's true. But at the same, so like, I don't know, because if we're looking at this team, is this team actually built to win a shootout? Because that might be what it turns into if they can't cover, and it doesn't seem like they can cover.
Yeah, no, coverage has been tough. You're right. Second worst in EPA behind the Lions. I think you mentioned that. This has just been a tough situation, and this might be exactly what the Jaguars need, right? Who again kind of been a bit Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or is it the other way around? Either way, they've been very up and down, and is this the game where we kind of see the Doug Peterson scheme work a little? I think it probably will.
I definitely think it could. I mean, especially, they have a lot of guys that feel like they're pretty good slot guys, and I think that's something that's benefiting to them. They don't throw the ball downfield a whole lot. They go over the middle. They go, onto the edges with the slot guys on those little flat routes. They're not challenging people downfield. And then as we've seen too, this Raiders team, I believe Nate Hobbs is still on IR. So I mean, that's basically him not being in there. I feel like is really important against this Jacksonville offense and what they want to do.
Yeah, especially against Jacksonville, right? Because like that's the whole thing is they kind of work over the middle, which is what Hobbs is so great at covering for this team. Yeah, I mean this should be a tough situation. The flip side though is I still feel like if this Raiders team just plays up to their potential, they should be able to easily beat the Jaguars. I still think there's more a team with Devontae Adams and all these other receiving options and Derek Carr. If those guys just play how they're supposed to play, this should be a win that they shouldn't have to worry about.
That's kind of how I feel too, but at the same time, I agree with that, and that's why I was picking the Raiders. But at the same time, how many times do these teams need to lose before we just decide that our preseason expectations aren't going to be met?
Right.
And I feel like I'm at the point where I'm at with this Raiders team, where how long can I keep banking on this team to fix itself if it can't fix itself? I don't know if that's going to be worked. I don't know what's going on with this pass game. Like you said, Derek Carr's been not good basically this entire year outside of a couple games. Hunter Renfrow felt like he's non-existent. Like, I don't know what's going on with this passing game, and I also don't know how to fix it.
Could we see a potential one and done with Josh McDaniels? I mean, this team made the playoffs last year with two different head coaches.
Yeah.
And they got Devontae Adams. You sure they lost Casey Hayward, but
like, I think that they're going to be good enough to have, not get to that point. I think he's going to last another season at least. But I just don't know, like, how many coaches, because we keep talking about this, how many coaches are actually going to go one and done? Like, it just doesn't seem like that should happen that often. I think he's going to get another year.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I do think that, I think there's a chance. I think if this team bottoms out, it could be tough. Let's move on. Why don't we? I'm going to give you a game. I'm going to give you one that's maybe a surprising favorite. I'm giving you Seahawks at Cardinals. Cardinals are 2-point favorites in this one, despite the Seahawks being in a playoff spot. Kyle, who do you got?
Oh, goody. I'm going to take the Seahawks, and I'm going to lock up the Seattle Seahawks
Oh.
just to win on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm buying right now what the Seahawks are selling. I think that they're going to be able to get this thing done on offense against a okay Cardinals defense. It's got better, certainly, but I just don't think they're going to be able to get it done. I think these two wide receivers should thrive in this game, honestly. I think Metcalf and Lafayette are due for big games. I think they're going to go all over this team. Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah. No, I think that's reasonable. I think the thing is, there should be three different receivers who have 100+ yards in this game, right? Hopkins, Lockett, and Metcalf should all easily get 100.
Theoretically, yeah. I mean, the thing with the Seahawks, though, is like, so their metrics, I think, are still kind of bad. But at the same time, like, I think it's gotten better every week. So, like, I think it's being hindered a lot by early season failures. Like, I think it's getting better and better, and eventually they're gonna grade up okay at least.
Yeah, we also have DeAndre Martin in the chat saying, "Why you keep ignoring my Eagles?" Listen, the Eagles are good. They're going to end up at the back of the show because we don't want to pick them.
Yeah, you might as well wait till last, or they might not get picked at all.
Right? No. But yeah, back to this stuff. I mean, I think I asked this question before. Who would you rather take, Geno Smith or Kyler Murray? Right now, give me Geno Smith. Give me the hot hand. He's playing great.
He is playing really well right now. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I mean, I think just everything I'm looking at with the Seahawks team, I think grades out pretty well. Now, the one thing, I don't know, what is the path? Like, if we get good Kyler Murray, obviously it feels like the Cardinals should win this, right? But we keep saying this about the Seahawks, that they look like lesser talent. And I honestly don't know what I'm getting from this Kyler Murray team. I don't know what I'm getting from Kyler Murray week to week. He hasn't been that level of player, and I don't know if he's going to reach that level of player.
Yeah, I don't. The Cardinals are another one of those teams that I don't fully understand who they are. I don't fully get exactly what's happening there. I think they're just a team that has some good players, but is inconsistent as a whole, which is probably what causes kind of this stuff. I don't know. They're in an interesting spot. These Cardinals. The one thing they have going for them, and the one reason why they're probably favored, 5th best in EPA at stopping the run. That feels like that's why this could go well for them. They're not good at stopping the pass, but they can stop the run very well, and that could potentially, for a team that loves to run the ball with the Seahawks, maybe that could create some troubles.
It's certainly possible, but at the same time, the Seahawks have been a top 10 dropback team this season. So
sure.
That might play a part in being able to get that done. So we'll see. And I still think they're a pretty good running team too. So they might be able to win the battle every now and then. But at the same time, I mean, they have more success when they throw the football. And I know it's Pete Carroll and I know what he does, but at the same time, it's working when they're putting the ball in Geno's hands and letting him make plays, and these wide receivers are being able to make plays. So I think that this could be I think this is a really good matchup for them.
Yeah, Zachary Stewart in the chat saying these two new O linemen coming in handy for the Sea Chickens. Yeah, I mean the Seahawks, like half their roster is rookies at this point. Yeah, Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross. Weirdly, Lucas has been the better player. I mean, neither one has been outstanding, but both of them have been starting tackles in the NFL, which is a surprise. I think just for two rookies to come in. So yeah, this draft class for Seattle, you got these corners playing better and better. Kobe Bryant has started to play a lot better. Tariq Woolen has played very well as a fifth-year rookie. I mean, this is shaping up to be one of the all-time draft classes by Seattle.
It definitely seems that way. So I guess the question is
and their first round pick isn't even playing that well.
Yeah, that's true. So do you try everything you can? Like, how many guys are you putting on Hopkins at this point? Like
all of them, 11 guys.
Yeah, you should at this point just be making sure that somebody else other than DeAndre Hopkins beats you on this team, because AJ Green's been one of the worst wide receivers in football. He's PFF's 109th out of 113. Rondale Moore is 92nd out of 113, so not much better. Zach Ertz has been okay, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like that there's no reason that DeAndre Hopkins should go off on you, knowing that the rest of the supporting cast stinks.
You're not expecting a Robbie Anderson, a redemption?
No.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
All right, let's go with I don't like this game. It feels fishy. So I'm going to give it to you. Vikings at balls.
Yeah, I don't know what they know that we don't know of the line only being 3.5. I feel like I vaguely considered locking it up. Kyle, I think I'm on the Vikings bandwagon here.
Uh-oh. All right, lay out the case.
This guarantees they're about to lose, but I don't know. I feel like this is a defense that we keep saying, the defense has been so shaky. The defense isn't that great. It's been relatively shaky. That's reasonable. It's mediocre, 17th in EPA per play overall. But I just feel like this TJ Hawkinson move is exactly what they need. Their offense has every component you need. The only thing you can say about it is that Kirk Cousins is only good and not great. Like, that's the negative about this offense. They're blocking well this year, relatively speaking. They're, they have a third option now, and their first two options are Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. It's a game where offense will win you football games, and I feel like the Vikings, I'm almost ready to put them in championship contender. I don't know. I think that if we're talking who is the biggest threat to the Eagles, they might be the biggest threat to the Eagles.
Interesting. It might be the case. It really might be the case. This defensive line's good. I joked last week that we see some moments of brilliance out of Patrick Peterson. I didn't realize how well he was actually grading out, that it's a consistent thing for him. Now, he's going to go up against Terry McLaurin in this game. That's a tough matchup. That being said, I think this is a fascinating matchup. I think that, how can these corners continue to play this well against this Washington receiving core? They have graded out really well, but it'll be interesting to see how that matches up.
Yeah, and the Vikings aren't afraid to help out their corners too, which has obviously been a key factor. That's what we see the good teams in the NFL do now, is they help out their corners when they need them. I'm assuming, again, another one of those games. Washington has other good receivers, but still, put 11 guys on McLaurin. Make sure he doesn't beat you.
Yeah, I mean, he's been out of they've won the last two games, it felt like, specifically because of him. But yeah, I mean, there definitely is a narrative with Kirk Cousins that people don't want to pick him to succeed. That's very much the case. I think he's a solid quarterback who's been good the last two seasons. But there's definitely a contingent of people who, see the primetime numbers, see that kind of stuff. And I think that's something that is going to be, called into the question until he actually wins down the stretch.
Yeah. Also, how about Christian Darrisaw, the second-year tackle, third best, highest rated tackle according to PFF. So things are going well for them.
Him and Montez Sweat's also going to be a fun matchup. There's a lot of fun, if you go through the list here, there's a lot of fun, one-on-one matchups that I think are going to be interesting. The only one that's not a fun one-on-one matchup is Justin Jefferson against whoever they decide to put on him in this Washington secondary, which is not a very strong secondary. in all honesty. So that could be an interesting matchup. Washington is graded as the 27th. Am I on? Oh, I'm on defense. Let's see here. Drop back EPA. They're middle of the pack. They're 16th. That being said, I think this is a bad matchup for them.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that this if you're the Vikings, you want to prove me right, win by 10 here, right? And the balls haven't been bad. The balls have been 4-4. Like they're a solid football team. But this is a game that if you want to be taken seriously, this is a team that you can blow out.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. We'll see how they match up. I think I'm leaning with you too. I like the Vikings, but this is an interesting line. I think part of it too is Minnesota just doesn't blow anybody out. I can't explain why, but they just don't do it.
Yeah, it's almost like the Chargers syndrome. I don't know what it is. Like some teams just like never seem to blow other teams out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think you're on the right side of this. We'll see how they match it up. I mean, a lot going on in Washington too right now. So,
right. Yeah. Let's move on. I'm going to give you one of the best games of last year in the playoffs, a game that broke my heart when I was there live. The Rams at Buccaneers. It'll be a rematch of the wild divisional round matchup. Two teams desperately needing a win. Kyle, who do you got?
I guess give me the Bucs at home. This is a good pick. Both of these teams need to get right quickly. I mean, if the Buccaneers, though, on extra rest, lose this game at home, like, do we just write them off at this point? Like, do we say it's over? Because if they can't fix themselves this week on the extended rest, when are they going to fix themselves? It just seems like they need it to happen now. It seems like guys are kind of getting healthy in the secondary too, which should help. I don't know. I just feel like they feel like the more desperate team like right now, and I think that they have to get this right.
Yeah. What's interesting is I feel like it's made about this weak division, but the Buccaneers' schedule down the stretch is actually pretty tough. They have the Rams, and then in the next 8 games, they play the Seahawks, they play the Browns. When the Browns will have Watson, they play the Bengals, and they play the 49ers. Not to mention they still play every team in their division again, and then also the Cardinals. So trying to do better than 4-4 the way this team is playing, or 4-5 for the stretch, could be a little tough. They kind of need this one. I think you're right. I see someone in the chat saying, how are the Bucs favored? Well, they're favored because they're playing the Rams, and the Rams aren't playing well either. I mean, this is the Rams team that's sputtering out of control, and they don't have the luxury of a potential 9-8 division title here. So both of these teams, I think, really need a win.
Yeah. By the way, I think Watson's back to Houston game, not the Tampa game.
Oh, did I get that wrong?
Yeah, that's his 11th game is Tampa because they had the bye week.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, that's good news.
Yeah. That being, yeah. Yeah, this Rams team hasn't gotten right. I think that there's some real problems with this offense. Obviously, we've talked about this verbatim. But yeah, I mean, I just think like if this Bucs secondary is healthy, based on what we've seen from this Rams receiver group outside of Kupp, which is Kupp going? Is Kupp going to play?
I don't know.
If he doesn't play, there's no excuse to losing to the Rams. But at the same time, if he does play, I feel like a healthy Bucs secondary should be able to beat this team still pretty handily.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, this is I'm trying to figure out the Watson thing now. My brain's broken on this, but yeah, I mean, this is you're absolutely right. I mean, we all saw what Cooper Kupp did last year against a relatively healthy Buccaneers secondary. So that's an issue. You hope that they have a better game plan. One of the things that the Buccaneers have done a good job of with Todd Bowles there is learn from their mistakes. But of course, the issue is, they haven't done as much this year. And the Rams have seemingly been the kryptonite. The Rams are seemingly a team that they never can learn from. I think my official pick is still going to be the Rams here. I think I'm going to keep picking the Rams until the Buccaneers prove to me that they can beat them.
That might be fair. I don't know. I kind of like how there's just a lot of things that I think are
and
pro
Kupp
Tampa
is playing
in this
by the
game. Kupp is going to play. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I just like pro Tampa, though. I think their secondary outmatches Los Angeles receiving core. I think, at their best, I think Joe Tryon-Shoyinka should be able to get after this Rams offensive line. The only thing I don't love is the interior of this Tampa Bay offensive line against Aaron Donald, obviously. That's a mismatch.
Yeah. Also, yeah, just figured out the Deshaun Watson stuff. It's because it's week 12 that the Buccaneers play them, but that's the 11th game. That's why I was getting all confused. Yeah, but no, absolutely. I mean, again, can't you just see this being a game where the Buccaneers let Aaron Donald get like 15 tackles because of how often they run the ball up the middle
Um, yeah, basically their 15 runs are
in the
for
first
two.
quarter?
Yeah, 15 runs for 1.5 yards per carry or something like that. I mean,
Right,
I
and
don't
then
know.
they'll abandon the run, and teams will say they need to run the ball more.
Yeah, so I don't know. It feels like if you were to bet on one of these teams riding the ship and becoming a contender, not just say that all of a sudden meet our expectations. Which team would you pick to right the ship?
I think I would pick Tampa Bay just because we have seen this before where they've had some just baffling losses, and we've seen it before where they looked really bad and then entered a bye week and then went on a run to win the Super Bowl. We saw that in their Super Bowl run was they were really reeling. And even I think people forget, everyone remembers after the bye week they did well. They started off down 17 to the Falcons, and then Tom Brady in classic Tom Brady fashion had a big comeback against the Falcons. But I think I would give it to them. I don't feel confident about either of these teams. I keep saying,
Yeah.
I'm already moving on and saying Minnesota is the biggest threat to Philadelphia. I've those aren't my expectations, but I still think it's possible. Plus, they have a pirate ship, so of course they could ride the ship.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way too. It feels like the Rams are a talent deficient team right now, outside of their top guys.
Yeah, I see that's true, but again, those top guys are really good, right? Like as
Yeah.
Tyler brings up, Donald could blow up this game all day. He absolutely could, and it does make you wonder. We saw how well the Rams were able to against the Bengals when the Bengals had a weak link at a guard position, how they were able to use Donald to kind of really just wreck their. Hopefully Tampa Bay has a better plan.
I would hope so. You have a ton of faith in Byron Leftwich, right?
Oh yeah, he's got it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to a much quicker passing game in this one. Just say we're taking Donald out of the equation here.
Has anyone had a better season for their legacy while not coaching than Bruce Arians?
It certainly feels that way, but I don't feel like anyone's on that narrative yet that it was Bruce Arians all along.
In Tampa Bay, they are. Maybe that's more of a local thing. But yeah, I mean, I saw a tweet of he's getting inducted into the Ring of Honor. And so they had like a tweet like, it's going to be week 17 at halftime. And all of the comments, right, can he be inducted back as head coach? So, Buccaneers fans are missing him.
Yeah, that might be the case. Maybe he does come back.
Yeah, he's still in the building too. He just hangs out there now.
Yeah. Yeah, I see him on the sidelines all the time. I miss him without his Darth Vader pack though.
Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, there was that Saints game one day. I guess the Saints said like, "Oh, we're out of boxes, so you have to be on the sideline." That was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. So
yeah. All right, but let's move on. Why don't we? So here we go. Where are we at? I give you a game. No, you give me a game. See, but the issue is it says Kyle. What on my notes? I think it's a notes issue because just a little behind the curtain. When I give the picks, I then will say Rams, Buccaneers, Tampa Bay, Kyle. But then when I read it, I'm like, oh, okay, that was that was Kyle who gave me the game, so I have to give it to you. So I'm just stupid.
It's all good, man. Let's keep it rolling though. The wrong team's favored in this game. I don't know how this team's in a playoff spot right now because I think it's not very good. Chargers at Falcons.
Chargers, Falcons. Wait, so you don't know which team is in a playoff spot?
The Chargers.
Wow, the Chargers have been okay.
Not a fan.
Why? So I'm picking the Chargers to win. I think that the Falcons, again, Chargers have had real issues on offense. Certainly, they're they need to get healthy on offense, which is kind of their biggest issue. And we all know that their defense isn't great either. So I guess maybe that's why you're not a big fan of them. But I still feel like I still think Herbert's a star quarterback. I think that this has been a tough situation for him. I still think he's a star quarterback. And I think that, I trust that even with kind of a talent deficiency on offense, they'll be able to move the ball against a not so good Falcons defense.
Maybe. I don't know. There's a stink on this team that I don't like. And it could be a multitude of things. They don't grade out very well. They're kind of middle of the pack team tiers. In fact, they're even lower for all this offensive talent they had. I know Keenan Allen's been hurt and now Mike Williams is hurt. They're not very good on offense. On defense, they're not very good, and they've paid a lot of money to be good defensively. They're still not very good on it. I don't think they're coached very well. I don't think Joe Lombardi is a good coach at all. as far as an offensive coordinator. And that also probably affects the offensive numbers. But it seems like it all coalesces. And not to mention, it seems like every game they're on the road because they don't have fans show up to their own home games. So it's easy to crap on a team that doesn't actually have fans that talk to you. So it all kind of coalesces into this team I don't like watching. I don't enjoy their games other than the big Justin Herbert. This is an awesome red zone team because Justin Herbert once or twice a game has an awesome play that pops up on red zone. But then the rest of it, I don't really need to see because I don't think it's a very enjoyable product.
No, I mean, this is a team that, I mean, if Justin Herbert goes down, is this one of the worst teams in football?
I think so. Yeah.
But also Justin Herbert's awesome. So like that makes them better. One thing I'm looking at as well, neither of these teams defend the run very well. Neither of these teams defend the pass particularly well either. The Chargers, at least, are okay. They're better. They're mediocre at defending the pass. The Falcons are bad at both. So we could see both running games have success here.
But who's playing receiver for the Chargers? Like, do we actually have faith Keenan Allen's going to be healthy and good?
No, I don't believe any. Yeah, no.
He's got the worst hamstrings in football. I don't know what to believe with it. I think. I don't know. And then if he's not effective and Williams has kind of been their guy on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
Who are we banking on? Are we banking on DeAndre Carter to step up and be a viable option? Like, I'm just not seeing it with this team.
Yeah, you have Gerald Everett have to be the guy. It's not great on not great. Although one that we've talked about is a lot of the ways that you attack this Falcons team is over the middle. So maybe they're a little bit okay. Maybe this is the right time to play the Falcons.
Maybe. I mean, it's certainly possible, but at the same time, like, I also think you're using the weakest part of your team by doing that too. This team doesn't throw over the middle a whole lot. And wasn't there a whole bunch of stats last season about, Herbert not being very good at throwing over the middle?
Yeah, well, it was more about just the offense as a whole not having success. It wasn't a Herbert thing necessarily. Just the team itself was struggling there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're playing into your weakness basically at that point.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a totally fair point. So you have the Falcons winning this game?
I would pick the Falcons, yes.
And you think they should be favored?
Yeah, I think they're a better team.
Interesting. So what do you like about the Falcons?
I think that they have I think they have an identity of who they are. They know exactly who they are. They're not going to ask They're not going to put Mariota in compromising situations. They're not going to put their offense in compromising situations. And they know how to get guys the football. And then not to mention, it's I believe Cordarrelle Patterson's coming off the IR, so there's a chance he plays in this game. And I think that's a huge upgrade to this Falcons offense too, because I think it's significantly better when he's out there. I just like the identity of this team more than the Chargers, which just seems like it doesn't have an identity at all from their coaching staff.
Yeah, no, I could totally understand it. I like the Falcons team all right. I think both these teams are fine. I think this is a kind of an even matchup.
Well, on the road, the Chargers are getting 3.5, so that's basically saying in a neutral site they might get 6 points.
Yeah, that I guess that's fair. It feels a bit high now that we talk it out.
Yeah, I mean, like the other thing too is like so this Falcons defense, like they got torched last week, but they haven't really been destroyed in a lot of games. They haven't been out like the Rams game is basically the only one where you say, okay, that's a really bad performance. And I guess but the Bengals went off, but the Bengals were hot at that time. I still think this team is good enough on the outside to get this done.
Maybe. I still don't have a ton of trust in their defense. I mean, we can say last week was bad. Last week was bad against the Panthers, and really, they probably should have lost that game. I mean, the Panthers blew that game more than the Falcons won it, I thought. But I do understand what you're saying. I think that they're an all right team. Want to move on?
Yeah, sure. You give me a game. That's it.
Yes. I'll give you a divisional matchup. Why don't we? Let's go Packers at Lions here. Kyle, who you got?
Similar reason to the last one with the Buccaneers. I think that if the Packers are going to get right, they have to win this game. So I'll take the Packers on the road to win this one.
Yeah. Talk about a desperate team. I mean, this is a team that isn't this just what Aaron Rodgers does? Aaron Rodgers, when he needs to get a win, he always seemingly gets the Lions or the Bears and then just destroys them.
It definitely feels that way. Is Dan Campbell going to last this season?
I think he'll at least last to the end of the season. I don't know. I feel like isn't this the most predictable situation ever with the Dan Campbell stuff? That everyone loves his first season, and then it's like his second year. It's like, hey, now we have a little bit more talent. So now we're going to make the playoffs. And it's like, well, no, you're still not a very talented team. And then they predictably don't play very well. Now everyone blames the coach. I feel like this is the last thing you want as a head coach is expectations.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. This team's so bad, man. This defense, I mean, they're bottom 3 run defense. They're the worst pass defense by a pretty significant margin. Like, I know that the Packers have their issues on offense, but it still feels like any team can get off the bus and score 30 on this team, right?
Yeah, this is a get-right game for the Packers offense, which really needs to get right. Kyle, I have a video in the works. This might be a bit of a hot take. Could Christian Watson save the Packers season? And hear me out. Here's why. What are teams doing? They're playing single safety deep, letting guys, trusting that Packers can't win on the outside. Christian Watson has been hurt all this time. He came in, played 6 snaps, and got hurt again. So you got to get a healthy Christian Watson to make this happen. But could he be exactly what they need as someone who's has great speed and great size and can potentially win on the outside? Could this be maybe a way that the Packers could get right?
Yes. And as someone who admittedly put him as a first round talent, I hope he does. They need him. They really need him to get right if they want to win this game, it feels like, or start winning this season.
Yeah.
Because I think Dobbs is okay. He looks like he's going to be an okay player.
Mm-hmm.
We know who Alan Lazard is at this point. I think we know who Sammy Watkins is at this point when he's healthy. So, like, I don't. They need someone to really step up and cement themselves as the number one guy.
Yeah, we have our resident Lions fan in the chat saying Lions offense is electric at home. That's true. Very good offense with the Lions. Maybe.
What's that?
Sorry, I actually hit the mute button. Maybe they can get something.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, they could move the ball in this game. We've seen this Packers run defense not be very good. So if they can start running the ball and moving the ball a little bit that way, maybe hit Amon-Ra, Sam Brown a couple times, then all of a sudden maybe this is a this could be a decent Lions offensive performance. I just think the problem is that you're banking on this offense scoring consistently in the 30s or 40s to win football games, because that's the way this defense is constructed to not get stops. So, yeah, I think that's a problem for any team.
Yeah. Also, I have to say, for all the criticism that this this Packers offense has gotten, it hasn't been good necessarily, but it's been, I believe it's at for some reason the rankings, but there's 10 teams worse than the offense in terms of dropback EPA. So there are this is defense. That makes more sense. My bad on that one. But there has been instances where it's done well. Aaron Rodgers has been the main way it's been able to be effective. Aaron Rodgers is still playing very well. And so I'm not ready to give up on the Packers yet, is all I'm trying to say.
I don't blame you. I'm not ready to give up on them either. I'm just I'm concerned, obviously, from the start of the season. It hasn't been what we wanted to see. So I have my concerns, and I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. But this feels like, is this a must-win game for Green Bay?
Yeah. If they lose, sell the team. As in the individual stockholders. Yeah, sell the team.
The fans should sell the team. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Maybe people will start getting season tickets finally. But yeah, I think that they need to win this one, it feels like.
Yeah, no. I think I agree. Let's move on. Why don't we? Kyle, give me a game.
Let's see where to go to next. Colts at Patriots?
Okay.
Yeah.
Colts, Patriots. No, this is a good one. The Colts looked a little better with Sam Ehlinger, but poor Sam Ehlinger. Second start, has to go to Foxborough, play Bill Belichick. I think the Patriots win. I think the Patriots cover as well. Maybe I'm back. I've been backing this Patriots team all season. I haven't given up on them. I'm still convinced this Patriots team is going to be good, even though they've had some losses that shouldn't have been losses. They still got to figure out whatever's going on with their offense. I don't know if it's a quarterback thing. It feels like Mac Jones, currently PFF's second lowest rated quarterback right now. So that's been a real disappointment. But you still have things that I like about this team. I think their defense is very good. I think that their offense should at least be able to muster up enough points to win here.
That's the hope. I certainly hope so. We've seen this Colts defense struggle in the secondary, so maybe this could be a get right game for the passing game and for Mac Jones. My one worry is this Patriots run defense has not graded out particularly well. And is this the game that Jonathan Taylor goes nuts? I think it's possible, but at the same time, we did see like when the Patriots won a scheme against the run, as they did against Cleveland, they did a very good job in that game. They did a very good job of slowing down Nick Chubb in that offense a little bit. So I think that they should be able to scheme up against this team and, effectively stop the run, which is something that they don't do consistently well. I think mobile quarterbacks beat them more, and I don't think Sam Ellinger's that guy. So, yeah, I think the Patriots should win this game too.
Yeah, I think my issue with the Jonathan Taylor thing, though, is like we just haven't seen it from the Colts. Like we haven't seen they haven't blocked well for him. It's another one of those like we have to get rid of our preseason priors type things. Yes, offensive line has been banged up. That's just the life of football. Guys get hurt at the offensive line position, but even the guys who have been healthy, have taken step backs. Jonathan Taylor himself has taken a step back. So I just don't know how much I trust that. But you're right, there is a chance of it. Zachary Stewart says in the chat, the mac and cheese is cold. Kyle, nothing worse than cold mac and cheese.
Nothing worse than it, but if there's a game for him to get right, I'm hoping it's this one. I'm hoping it's this one that he can go after this defense a little bit, which
I think Stephon Gilmore revenge game.
Stephon Gilmore is all right, but I think we've just seen the rest of the guys in this defense not be particularly good. And, I don't know. Like, if you look at the middle of this defense, which hasn't graded out very well, could this team kind of go after – Jacoby Myers could have a field day in this one because it seems like everybody on the defense, too, is also taking a step back. So I think Jacoby Myers is kind of the guy that they could key in on this one. Hunter Henry could have a nice game. Jonnu Smith, too. I think there's a lot of guys who could be effective in this Patriots offense against this Colts defense.
Yeah, no. It should be a fascinating one, I think, with and it's always just fun seeing the Colts and Patriots, right? You think we'll get any 2006 AFC Championship game clips during the commercials?
Yeah, it'll go from at first it was Manning versus Brady. Now it's Ellinger and Jones for the future. Right, someone's going to bring up that narrative.
Is Ellinger and Jones the new Brady Manning?
People are asking. I don't know.
Yes. Kyle, any chance we see Bailey Zappi again this season? Besides not counting injuries. No chance?
I don't think he plays this season, not counting injuries. Unless Mac really falls off a cliff. Which I guess is possible based on how he's performed this season. But I don't think
fall off a cliff if you're already on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think he plays this season. And I mean, if he does, then the Patriots need to evaluate quarterback options in the offseason. Trade for Kyler Murray. I don't care. Do something.
Sure. If Lamar Jackson's available, I mean, get him. That would be unfair. That can't happen. No, that's not allowed.
No, we could have drafted him twice.
No, a lot of teams could have drafted him.
We had 2 picks and we didn't draft him. Unbelievable. I'm still mad about it. Sony freaking Michelle. Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
You won the Super Bowl the next year. All right. You're all right. You're doing okay.
Could have had Lamar Jackson. Could have won 5 more Super Bowls.
That's not sure if that's quite true, given the fact that he hasn't. Sure, whatever. Let's move on. Kyle, pick between the Dolphins and the Bears.
Dolphins.
All right. Well, let's move on now. The next game on the list. No. So you're not buying into this Bears offensive hype at all. Playing a defense has been very banged up in the Dolphins. People got on me in the comments, but I didn't bring up the injuries. That's fair. They're banged up. That's part of why the secondary has played so poorly. The guys who are healthy are still playing poorly, so it's not entirely excusable. But maybe a chance for the Chicago Bears team to to continue looking good.
Maybe. I don't think that's their game, though, is the problem. Their game is not to challenge corners one-on-one.
Right.
That's not how – I mean, the last 2 weeks where we've seen this offense play pretty well, it is not because they're challenging cornerbacks on the outside. It's because they're getting Justin Fields on the move. He's making throws on the run that are very effective, and he's also having to design run plays off of those, rollouts in certain situations. I don't think they're going to say, okay, Xavier Howard is not playing well this season. We're going to go at Xavier Howard 10 times in this game with Darnell Mooney. That feels like a recipe for disaster. So I think that even, despite what's not playing well for this Dolphins secondary, which, you're right. People did say that, and I think it's somewhat fair, but the guys are out there are not playing well. And some of those guys were starters last year. So yeah, I think it's a real criticism, and it's going to be interesting to see how they match up.
Yeah. Kyle, over under, we'll say 15.5. Tua is awesome comments we get in the chat on next Sunday's show.
Tua is him or something like that. It's going to be over under about 12.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So you're taking the under on the 15.5.
No, I'll go over actually, just
Okay, yeah.
because. Yes.
Yeah, either way, you got to go over here. No, I mean, this is a Chicago Bears defense that has certainly at times had its struggles. So that's maybe the hope if you're if you're a Dolphins fan, is that that could potentially work out very well. I could certainly see it. That's probably the way you do this. I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess if you're a Bears fan, you hope the offense continues. You hope Chase Claypool looks cool. He spent a high second round pick to get him. So hoping that works out.
Yeah. The one thing with the Bears is that they don't get beat deep a whole lot, it seems like. There's not a whole ton of explosive plays against their defense with these safeties playing so well. So that's something that Miami's kind of thrived off of, it seems like, this season, is the big play effect of having Hill and Waddle. Can they have that in this game? And if they can't, can they drive the full field over and over again? I still think yes.
Yeah.
But I still think yes, but I think it makes it a little harder.
No, I totally think that that's fair. Should be, but again, for the Bears, you don't care if you win. You care if Justin Fields looks good.
Yeah, that's all you. I mean, it's interesting that they make this Claypool move when back-to-back weeks of Justin Fields playing well, right?
It feels like we want to see what we have in Justin Fields.
Yeah,
this year and next year, because again, he has 2 years of control.
Mm-hmm. So,
and just 2 years though, because no fifth-year option.
Why?
He wasn't a first-round pick.
Claypool? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm with you now. I thought you were talking about Fields. I was like,
no.
Yeah.
No.
So, okay. So, yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No. All right. Well, let's move on then. Why don't we? So, we have 5 games left on the schedule. Kyle, give me a game.
All right. I think I'm going to have to Jedi mind trick you a bit here. Let's play the long game. Let's go Titans at Chiefs.
Okay, Titans at Chiefs. Yes. I see what's happening here. The audience is probably confused, but that's fine. We do this for us. We don't do this for the audience. Titans at Chiefs here. I'm sure there's some Ravens fans saying, "Why are we still not chosen?" I had the Chiefs winning this one, Kyle.
I think that's a fair pick. Is this line disrespectful though?
Well, no, just because the Chiefs beat teams that are good by a bunch of points sometimes. Because it's one of those things where, right, it's not saying, I feel like sometimes we view points as like this is the difference in how good these teams are. Well, no, it feels like there's like a 50-50 chance that the Chiefs win by more than 12 because the line is 12.5. But they also, could definitely, the Titans could make it closer.
It's possible. I think the Titans have been one of the teams though that have kind of played this team pretty well over the years. I mean, didn't they beat the crap out of them last year too?
So potentially, I remember that the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, the Titans beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but then lost in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at just looking at the last few years since 2018, the Titans are 3-1 against the Chiefs.
Yeah, wow, there you go.
Yeah, so that's including playoff games. So maybe this is a good matchup for Tennessee. Maybe they just have their number.
Maybe. I guess it kind of makes some sense, right? I mean, they run the ball so much, they kind of limit possessions. I feel like the Chiefs are at their best when they get, 14 possessions.
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be interesting. I want to see these linebackers go up against this Tennessee front. But yeah, I mean, I still think the Chiefs should win as as I'm going back and forth. I'm just trying to find talking points here. This Chiefs team should win because I think this is a good Titans secondary. I don't think it's a great Titans secondary. And I think Patrick Mahomes should be able to beat it.
Interesting. I feel like the Titans have played very well defensively this season. Again, with the exception of that Bills game.
Yeah, I think they've been good. I just don't think that it's I mean, which one of these guys do you feel comfortable with to I guess you say Byard's back there to kind of make things difficult, but I just don't know if there's enough. I don't know if there's enough juice on here to go against the Chiefs offense.
Yeah. That might be fair. No, I agree with that for sure. I think that, again, some teams, offense beats a good offense beats a good defense. I think this good offense will beat the good defense. That's why I'm picking the Chiefs. Joseph says, is it Malik or Tannehill? That's the other question. Is Malik Willis played last week, threw 10 snaps and didn't look great in them. But again, small sample size. From what I understand, Tannehill is trying to play, but we still don't know. He's still been limited in practice. So remains a question mark there. Feels like if Tannehill does not play, and maybe that's part of the line. It feels like if Tannehill does not play, I'm easily taking the Chiefs minus 12.5.
Yeah, that feels right. Yeah, Malik Willis did not look very good. I mean, it's his first start, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. But that's
And he barely played.
Yeah, that's going to be a really tough matchup. It feels like. Here's one question I have: is because I just pulled up the Defensive Player of the Year odds. I'm looking at it. Looks like the top 20 guys. Jeffrey Simmons is not in the top 20 for Defensive Player of the Year. Is that disrespectful?
Well, so I don't pay attention to, probably. I don't pay attention. Like, how many sacks does he have? I don't really look at the sacks too often. But I think that's all people care about, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's a bunch of idiots who vote on stuff.
All right. I mean, I still think about how Cooper Kupp got an MVP vote last year. Like, it's just like you never know. Or the best is Patrick Queen getting a Defensive Rookie of the Year vote.
Yeah. I mean, that was the worst. That's the most egregious one.
Yeah. How do we take these awards seriously after that?
Yeah, Devin White will get a vote for Defensive Player of the Year, probably. I mean, because if you're looking at it, it's like Micah Parsons is kind of the runaway favorite right now, which I think I agree with. Nick Bosa's 2, he's been very good. Garrett's 3, he's been very good. Von Miller's 4, he's been good. Aaron Donald's 5. I don't think it's quite a peak Aaron Donald season, but still very good Aaron Donald season. Then you got, Max Crosby, very good at 7. No, 6. 7th is Matthew Judon. I really like Matthew Judon. Matthew Judon is not the 7th best defensive player in football.
Yeah, and I even looked it up. Simmons has 5.5 sacks. So it's not like he's he's on pace for being a double-digit sack guy as an interior defensive tackle. Absolutely. One of the most underrated players in football. Is he the most underrated player in football?
I would say so, especially when he has worse odds than Talanoa Hufanga, J.J. Watt, and Hassan Reddick. I would say yes.
Incredible. Hasn't J.J. Watt missed like half the season?
He's missed some games, so I don't quite understand that one. I like Hufanga, but he is not more impactful than Jeffrey Simmons. He's just not. I mean,
poor Jeffrey Simmons.
Zadarius Smith has plus 4,000 odds.
Oh, maybe get some money in there.
No, thank you. I don't want to throw money away. That's disrespectful to me.
Absolutely disrespectful. Put some respect on Jeffrey Simmons' name. Let's move on. So, all right. Well, I guess I know where you're going here, but I will give you I'll give you Panthers at Bengals. Bengals only 7.5-point favorites, probably because of how bad they played last week. Kyle, who you got?
Yeah, give me the Bengals. The Panthers also haven't played awful the last few weeks, which I think should play a part in this too. I think they've been competitive. I mean, they're a helmet taken off on the field away from beating the Falcons probably, and they're also, they beat the Buccaneers. So I think that they have looked competitive since they made the coaching change and traded Christian McCaffrey. That being said, the Bengals are a better team. Bengals are better on both sides of the ball. Give me the Bengals to win this game at home and get right.
Yeah, the one thing you could question with the Bengals, I think, is they have offense didn't look spectacular last week. And, without Jamar Chase. Now they're playing a Panthers defense that has been good. Didn't have a great week last week, but has been good this season. So maybe that's a concern for Cincinnati.
I think I agree. But I don't know. Like this Panthers team's been competitive. It's still not good enough to me. Like, unless DJ Moore is able to go off again in this game.
Well, yeah, it's not great. Kyle, here's a thought that's not really about the game. The reports are that the Rams offered 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns, and the Panthers turned it down. If that's true, what the hell are the Panthers doing, right?
That is a lot. That is a lot. So, I mean, I like Burns, but at the same time, if you can get 2 starters, it feels like you have to do that, right?
Yeah, and they're a bit in the future because the Rams don't have too many first-round picks. But again, that's probably a good thing, right? The Rams feel like they're reeling. I mean, you could be getting some high draft picks potentially. Maybe the idea is you don't want to get draft picks for the next GM to do stuff. But I don't know. It feels like that could have been a good move for them.
It definitely feels like it. Yeah, I think I would have taken that trade.
Yeah, definitely. No, but back to the game itself. I think I agree. I think that I could see the Bengals offense struggling a little bit. I guess the other thing is PJ Walker has played well this year.
Yeah, he hasn't been bad. I think he's been competitive. So I think this whole Panthers team has kind of found a little bit of a spark since they made the moves.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we don't spend forever on it. Want us to move on?
Yeah, we can move on. I think the big thing is just going to be, you know, can this Bengals defense fix itself a little bit? They haven't played well. They didn't really play well this past week at all. That was a bit of an embarrassing game. I know they're missing some guys, but can they get going on defense again?
Yeah, potential get right game for them here. Kyle, give me a game. This will be the last game that I pick.
Okay. Um, okay, let's do Bills at Jets.
Okay, Bills at Jets. So since it's the last game, I originally Kyle, you made a great move here by leaving the game I was going to lock off. So I am forced to lock a game every week. I will be locking the Bills plus 12.5, which I don't love this lock. I feel like I like the Jets to cover this. So this is a good move by you.
Yeah, I like the Jets to cover this one too because I'm excited for this matchup. I really am. That being said, the Bills could win this one by 30 and nobody's surprised. So yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty excited for this matchup. I'm incredibly excited for Sauce Gardner against Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
I think that might be the matchup of the week, just one on one. I think this could be a pretty good game. The big thing is that Zach Wilson cannot gift the team the other ball multiple times in this game
Oh,
because he
he
can't do
can.
that. Well, he should ride the bench if he's going to. So
Uh-huh.
because that's just going to derail this team against a potent Bills offense. The last thing you want to do is give him more possessions and more possessions in plus territory.
Yeah. Also, Elijah in the chat saying instead of locking is for their team to cover. Right. Yes. If they lock it up, they have to not just win but cover. Um, yeah. And to me, I do think that you're right. This Jets defense in general versus the Bills offense that's the game to me. How well does this Bills offense look? It looked very good at times against Green Bay, and then kind of fall all over themselves in the second half there a little bit. Will it be And now you got a tough matchup. This is not an easy Jets team to play against. The thing that I feel like is I just don't trust Zach Wilson to get anything going against this Bills defense. I just don't.
Yeah, and rightfully you shouldn't at this point because he hasn't
Hmm.
proven it to us, and we want him to do well. You backed him. I thought he was a pretty good prospect too.
Hmm.
He has to prove it to us. He has to prove it on the field, and he has to be able to show that he can beat good teams. And I just don't know if he can right now.
Right. Or at least beat okay teams.
Yeah, he hasn't proven he can do either of those.
Right. I mean, yeah, and even the wins again, even the best he's looked is where he's looked okay, and that was right when he came back from the injury, and then has really been struggling these past few weeks. So kind of weird how it seems like he's getting worse, which is not what you want in this scenario. And again, you have the Bills coming to town, who have been fifth best in dropback EPA defensively.
Uh, yeah, which is so surprising because they have had guys in and out basically their entire season. I don't has Trey White even played once this season?
I
I don't
don't
think he
believe so,
has.
but I believe he's about
Yeah.
to come back.
Yeah. So I mean they've had guys in and out of the lineup basically all year and they've still looked awesome. So very surprising and I think a lot of that has to go to Sean McDermott and this Bills defensive scheme.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We also have a super chat. So if the draft ended today and you are the Lions and you have the number one overall pick, are you taking Bryce or CJ to be your franchise quarterback, or Will Anderson because the defense is so bad and cut Goff into bad contracts? Well, I'm easily cutting Goff. That's an easy one. I think he's gone after this year, or cutting him, maybe trying to get another signing, but getting rid of that contract after this year. I don't watch enough college. Kyle, I know you watch college, so why don't you field the question about which quarterback you would take?
Yeah, I think right now I like Bryce a little bit more. The dude's just tough as nails
Hmm.
and seems very poised at all times. Even in that Tennessee game that they lost, he kind of stepped up to the plate. He's basically their whole offense. This is not the same Bama team that shouldn't be ranked number 6 right now, in my opinion, but he's been that good. And to answer the second half of this, I think you should always get a quarterback when you have a quarterback problem. So I would take Bryce or CJ before I consider Will Anderson. If I'm a team like the Lions who need a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't even consider not quarterback. I go quarterback.
Yeah. It's despite even if you grade those guys a little bit lower, I think you kind of have to think about it and probably take a quarterback still.
Yeah, I would think so as well. But yeah, I don't know. Back to the Bills Jets, I guess. I don't really have too many other final thoughts in this one. Just I think it should be a fun game. I think we know how it's probably going to end, but it should be a fun one.
I think so too. I think it should be. Like I said, I think there's a lot of one-on-one matchups that are going to be really fun in this one. Can this Jets defensive line, which is I think athletic and pretty good, hold up against Josh Allen? I think that's a big question. Probably not because Josh Allen is that good. But at the same time, I think there's a roadmap, realistic roadmap, as long as Zach Wilson can take care of the football, that feels like the Jets could pull off an upset. I'm not betting on it. I'm not picking it. I'm not like, it's like a 10% chance, but I do see a roadmap to the Jets win this game with their defense, with the guys they have at corner playing that well.
Sure. And if you get a couple of Josh Allen mistakes in there.
Yeah, it would require something like that.
Sure. Which is totally possible. Gotta protect the football though. So Kyle, I'm gonna give you Ravens at Saints. You made a strategic move to not let me lock up the game I wanted to, but the downside is you don't have to pick a relatively competitive game here at the end of the list. Ravens, Saints, who you got?
Yeah, I saw what you were looking at here. I actually considered locking this one up to myself. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win by a field goal, though. I do like the Ravens in this game. I like the matchup for them. And I just think, Lamar should. This is a good Saints defense, but I think Lamar should have their number, I feel like this is something that they're not going to be as equipped to handle, it seems like. As much as I like Mario Davis and his ability to cover ground, I think he should be able to be active and win this one.
Saints do have the best defensive rush EPA though, so that's kind of the one thing that could be. That's probably why this line is maybe a little closer than you might initially think.
That's true, but at the same time, I don't view the Ravens in the aspect of traditional rush defense because
Right.
A lot of it's off script stuff, and I still stand by. I think Lamar Jackson's the best off script player in football, and a lot of it is going to be sending those corners downfield in coverage, having their backs turned to Lamar Jackson, and then him, escaping the pocket and making plays basically with his feet. I think that's a lot more difficult to plan for and scheme for as a run defense. And I think it's going to be very difficult to succeed. I think it's going to come down to, can Davis spy on him, which takes him out of coverage, which I think is something he's very good at. And he grades out as one of the best linebackers in football, so rightfully so. Can Davis spy on him and track him down? I think that's a really tough matchup.
Sure. No, I mean, no one can do it great, right? He's always going to get you at some point.
Yeah. He's one of the best. Davis is one of the best. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to want to take him out of the game like that, but I feel like they might have to because I don't trust these other linebackers to stick with them. I don't trust these safeties to stick with them. He would really – it just seems like it's a really tough matchup for anybody to keep up with him right now.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Also, Saints offense has just been so up and down this season, right? It just feels like, they're different offense every time they play.
Yeah. It really is Jekyll and Hyde. And I know this Ravens defense hasn't played up to the expectations we had by any means, but at the same time, I still trust a lot of these guys out there on this team to be able to get it done, at least in some regard. I think they should be able to win this one. And I don't think they're going to get torched in the passing game quite like the Raiders were.
Yeah. Jay in the comments saying I'd take Saints at home if I had to bet on it. That's one thing worth bringing up. Always a tough place to play. I feel like if home field advantage is worth 3 points, the Saints home field advantage might be worth 4 or 5.
Yeah, it might be. Where were you going to lock on this side?
I was going to lock the Ravens to win. I agree with you. I really like the Ravens, and I think that they have a really good chance to. I think the Ravens are a good football team. I think that again, the AFC North's been so weird this season. It's hard to get a great grasp on what's going on. I think the Ravens defense has started to come alive a bit in these past few weeks.
Yeah. How do you like Roquan in this defense?
I'm interested in it, right? Because it's like there's a world where this ends up being a steal. I've never been a huge Roquan Smith fan. I feel like again, PFF really doesn't like him. I've always kind of believe he's better than that, but not quite as good as what people make him out to be. He is someone who will definitely make mistakes, but also can make those splash plays. But he also has had really good seasons. Even PFF has graded him with some really good seasons. So I think you're hoping that you're getting good Roquan here if you're the Ravens. I think that in this defense, though, he's probably going to kind of take on maybe a bit of like a Devin White type role, right? Of just kind of go in and try to make the splash plays. We don't need you to be a consistent linebacker who can do everything.
Yeah. Patrick Queen isn't Levante David, though. That's for sure.
Well, no. Yeah. But I mean, they needed, that's part of why this is a good trade, I think, is you're getting an upgrade from what they had.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think there's a chance he's pretty good on this team because he was playing with such bad players for the last couple of years.
Yeah. And again, it seems like it can't hurt too much here. with it might be a pure rental though, right? I mean, because you have to pay Lamar. And I can't imagine they're letting Lamar walk. I still think they're going to figure out a way to pay Lamar. Maybe I'm delusional, but that's what I think.
It'd be complete lunacy if they let him. Let him go. So
Right.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, no, should be interesting. One game left to talk about. We are not picking it because there's an odd number of games, but we will still. I mean, we'll still pick it. It just doesn't go on our official scoreboard that nobody cares about except for us. Eagles are 14-point favorites against the Texans. Kyle, is 14 enough?
That's probably as high as they could realistically go on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really interesting that these two teams play on the week that their two baseball teams are playing in the World Series. Like, it's just funny how that worked to me.
Right.
I'm pretty sure this is on the day off of the World Series, too.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, I mean, this feels like it should be a blowout, though, unlike the World Series, right? This should be a Philly domination.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. It should be. I mean, it feels like every game except for one of the World Series games has been a blowout, but just in trading forth. But yeah, I think so. I think this is a team in the Eagles that should be able to have no real issue on offense or on defense. This should be another one of those. I think I easily take the Eagles minus 14 here.
You would bet it?
Well, I mean, that's what I would take. I've sort of stopped betting, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, you could do like a 3-team 10-point tease this week. There's some teasable games. Like, you could basically bet Eagles, Bills, Chiefs, and get the Bills and the Chiefs to win by a field goal, and the Eagles to win by 4 or more. By 4.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
That's the bet, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I feel like they should win by 14 too. So I just Davis Mills is gonna have a rough day. That's my prediction. Davis Mills is gonna have a rough game.
Yeah, Zachary Stewart brings up it's Thursday Night Football. You never know. Yeah, I guess that's it, right? You just hope the Eagles aren't good on short rest.
Yeah, Thursdays can be weird. That being said, I think it's a really tough roadmap to victory unless like Dameon Pierce has to go nuts or something like that, right?
Yeah, which I guess there's a chance. Is there a chance?
Yeah, sure, there might be a chance. I guess this Eagles defense is too good. So if I set the line, here's
the Eagles defense has been susceptible to giving up yards on the run, though.
If I set the line at Eagles 13.5 points second quarter.
Over. Given the Eagles, I'm taking the Eagles.
You're taking them to score 2 touchdowns?
Yeah. I'll take them to score 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, so you do 20.5 over.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No, I don't know what the line is, but I feel like whatever it is, I'm betting over the way the Eagles play in the second quarter. Yeah. We should start doing that. We should start betting the Eagles second quarter. Because I feel like that's been no one's talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. It could be something. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. So, could Pierce keep the ball out of the Eagles offense's hands? Can he control this game on the clock? I still think it's way too much to ask for a rookie running back, but he has played well this year.
Yeah, a lot to ask. It's so funny how, I feel like week 3, we're like, hey, this is funny. The Eagles' second quarter has been, they've been great in those second quarters, and it's just continued.
Yeah, it's their bread and butter, basically.
Yeah,
I don't know. Get a big lead and hold on.
Yeah, hey, it's working for them. Yeah, interesting stuff. Kyle, let them know we can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page that's at On the Sideline JK. That's at On the Sideline JK.
Yeah. A lot of interesting stuff. Of course, if you like audio only podcasts, anywhere you get the audio only feed, that should be available. It's On the Sideline podcast. Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
Looking forward to week 9. Go Patriots. Let's get it done. Get back over 500. That's what I want.
Yeah, I'd like to just, I don't know. I hope the Bucs look okay. I hope to have some fun.
Have fun in the loss?
Well, I want them to ideally win.
Yeah, we'll see.
I can't set my expectations too high.
Fair enough.
Score 2 touchdowns.
Look at how far it's fallen, man.
I know. This is, it's been a tough season, Kyle.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. You'll get through. Maybe, you didn't quite get 6 Super Bowls, but maybe you'll get one more.
That would be nice. Maybe even, I don't know. Another playoff appearance would be cool.
Yeah, that's something you could strive for. Small goals.
Yes. Secret to life is low expectations.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, good. Thank you to everybody for listening. We will be back, of course, on Sunday at midnight Eastern to recap all of the interesting games that we have ahead of ourselves. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, as always, see you later, alligator.
Peace.